Today we're going to be talking about how to find the area of triangles and trapezoids. These should both still be review from 5th and 6th grade, so make sure that you are filling out your notes so that you can reference it in case you forget. We're going to be on page 11 of the notes, and we are starting with area of triangles. Two triangles are formed when a parallelogram is cut in half. So if you look at this parallelogram and you think about us cutting it in half, that creates two different triangles. We have this bottom triangle and the top one. We know that the formula for area of a parallelogram is base times height. So if a triangle is half of a parallelogram, then that means to find the area of a triangle, we're going to do 1/2 base times height. Remember that 1/2 means divide by 2. So we have to do base times height and then divide it by 2. But on your star chart, you're going to see that the formula is written as area equals 1/2 base times height. The height of the triangle will form a right angle with the base of the triangle. So just like when we looked at parallelograms, the height has to be perpendicular to the base. So here's the height and here's the base. We never want to use a number that's on a slanted line. The height has to be perpendicular. So let's look at some examples. First, we're going to label the base and height of the triangle, and then we're going to use the formula to find the area. So looking at this triangle, I'm going to make my base be the bottom number. So the 14 would be the base. And the height would be 16, because that's what creates that right angle. If there were any numbers on these diagonal lines or the slanted lines, those would be trash. We would not need them. We only need the base and height. Remember that our formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So when we plug in our values, we've got 1/2 times the base, which we said was 14, times the height, which is 16. So now we're going to multiply our base times height. So 14 times 16 is 224. If you multiply those, you get 224. And then you can't forget to divide that by 2 and half it. When we divide 224 by 2, that gives us an area of 112 square inches. Let's do the same thing for number 2. Our base is that bottom number, so 3.5, and the height is the number that's perpendicular to it, 2. Our formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. When we plug in our values, we're going to have 1/2 times the base, which was 3.5, times the height, which was 2. So first we've got to do 3.5 times 2, and that gives us 7. And then half that, which means divide by 2. And 7 divided by 2 gives us 3.5 meters squared. So just like you guys have been doing on your bell ringers this week, you're going to do base times height and then divide it by 2. Now let's look at trapezoids. A trapezoid is one or two triangles and a rectangle combined. To find the area, we're going to use the formula area equals 1/2 B1 plus B2 times h. Now that looks really complicated, but we're going to break it down so that it's really not any harder than a triangle. You need to know that B1 is the length of the first base. And B2 is the length of the second base. And the bases are the lines that are parallel to each other, that never touch. In this picture, it is this top line and the bottom line. If those were to go on forever, they would never touch. So those are our bases. It does not matter which one is base 1 and base 2. So I'm just going to put base 1 at the top and base 2 at the bottom. H is the height of the trapezoid. And just like parallelograms and triangles, the height is perpendicular to the base. So it has to make that straight line. We're still never using a diagonal or slanted line number. So those are what all of our letters mean, and now we're going to look at some examples of how to solve for area. We're going to use the formula to determine the area of the shape below. So this is a trapezoid, and let's label let's write the formula. The formula for area of a trapezoid equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. So now we can label where those sides are on the shape. The bases, remember, are those parallel lines. So in this case, again, it's the top and the bottom. So we've got base 1 and base 2. And the height, h, is the line that connects them perpendicularly. So that would be 4. 5 is on a slanted or diagonal line, so that's a trash number. We're never going to use that number. Now we can plug in our values. 1/2 stays 1/2. Base 1 was 7. Base 2 was 12. And then the height was 4. So all we did here was plug in base 1 and base 2 inside those parentheses. Now remember, according to order of operations in PEMDAS, you have to do the parentheses first. So you've got to do that addition, which makes 7 plus 12, so that's 19. So now we've got 1/2 times 19 times 4, which looks just like the formula for a triangle. So we're going to multiply those two numbers and then divide by 2. So if we do 19 times 4, that will give us 76. And then don't forget, you have to divide that by 2 because we're going to half it. And 76 divided by 2 equals 38. So our area is 38 square inches. So the only difference between trapezoids and triangles is you just have to add the two bases together first. That's why even though it looks really complicated, it's almost the same as a triangle, just with one extra step. Let's go ahead and move on to the next page. And we are going to solve for these 3 triangles. All right, looking at number 4, that's showing you a trapezoid. I'm going to label that trapezoid, or trap, and then write our formula. Area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Remember, the bases are the lines that are parallel, so 7.6 and 6.4. And we have to add those two bases together. So we're going to add 7.6 plus 6.4. And that gives us 14. So now we've got, I'm going to kind of, actually, never mind. There's a space right there to do it. We have 1/2 times 14, because those are base 1 plus base 2, times the height, which is 4.2. Remember, that slanted number is trashed. So now we can multiply 14 times 4.2. Remember, you don't have to line up your decimals whenever you are multiplying. And that will give us 58.8. And then we're going to half it, which means to divide by 2. And 58.8 divided by 2 gives us 29.4 centimeters squared. And that was our trapezoid. Looking at number 5, this one is a triangle. So our formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, where our base, I'm going to make it this bottom number right here, so 3.2. So if I plug in, I've got 1/2 times 3.2 times the height, which if we look at 6.6, that is on a slanted line. So that's not our height. Our height is this dimension right here that shows us from the top of the triangle all the way down to the base is 2.8. So we've got to do 3.2 times 2.8. And that gives us 8.96. And don't forget to half it because it's a triangle, which means divide by 2. 8.96 divided by 2 gives us 4.48, and those are square inches. Last question, we've got number 6, is another triangle. So our formula for area of triangles is 1/2 base times height. And our base this time, I'm going to say, is that top number that is going across. So there's our base. So when we plug in, I've got 1/2 times 12 times the height, which is what is perpendicular to the base. So another 12. Are we going to use that 17? No. That's on a slanted line, so it is trashed. So now we've got to do 1/2 times 12 times 12. Well, 12 times 12 is 144, and half of that is 72, and our units are square feet. So that's how you find the area of triangles and trapezoids. Make sure you keep these notes out, and you do not have to memorize these formulas. You will have them on a star chart, which we will look at more extensively tomorrow. But your formulas are on these pages that we just filled out. So what you guys are going to do now is go ahead and turn to page 13. We're going to skip the rest of this page for now. And you guys are going to solve these questions except for number 6 and 8. You can go ahead and skip 6 and 8. So cross those out. Don't do 6 and don't do 8. But go ahead and do the rest of the questions with your table group.